Good evening. Yeah, I think I'm live. We are live at a much different time than we normally are. Someone in the chat, please give me a shout out. Tell me you can hear me okay. Feels like forever. It's been probably about 3 weeks. I think it was the 19th of December we last did an Army List show. So yeah, pretty much 3 weeks. Sorry for not doing one sooner. Podgar, thank you. Hi, good evening to Hit to Wound. Jack, thank you for the audio check. Yeah, so normally the Army List show goes out at 4 o'clock, or it used to go out at 4 o'clock. We are now we're now going out much later in the day. So until I get sorted with the kids and stuff, we'll be doing the Army List show much later in the evening. Good evening, Sir Bizzle. Thanks for tuning in. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say except that the Army List show will now be a Sunday evening thing for the foreseeable future. Let me just get chat up on the screen so I can see it nice and easily. Yep. And we've got 3 lists to go through today. The lists we're going to go through are by Matt Grounds, Steel Rain, who's a big advocate of Sangre Guard. If you don't know Steel Rain, he's a huge advocate of Sangre Guard. Good evening, Michael. Thanks for tuning in. And Trey Ellis. So the show will be a little bit shorter than normal as well. We're probably just going to be about 90 minutes as opposed to 2 hours. So, yeah, that's what we'll be doing until... You know, I got 2 kids under the age of 2 now, so it's pretty... life is challenging. So the show will be on the evening rather than during the day, I think, just because I can't really get free time during the day. So I hope this is okay. Also, please, as always on these shows, if you've got any comments, questions, or anything about Blood Angels, painting, it can be anything. You're more than welcome to send your comments in. And if you want to if you want to send your list for a review in the future, what you need to go into YouTube and search for Blood Angels Commander, easily done, right? Click over on the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel and click on the community tab, which will be here. And then put in the latest community post, this one here, or whatever one's at the top, you'd click on the comment section and just paste your list in there from Battlescribe. That way I'll get it, and I will add it to the queue to be reviewed. Just so you know, the queue is significantly longer. Members of the channel or Patreons do get priority in the queue, so if you want to get a quicker review, that's what you're going to do. Sometimes if you've got a tournament coming up and you let me know there's a tournament that you really need a review for, I can also expedite it so that we can help people out as they go towards tournament play and stuff like that. Sorry, my screen is showing very yellow at the moment. Do you know what? I'm going to flick it back. My eyes are too tired for this. I like to have my screen run a little bit yellow. So, deal with the yellow, I guess. Okay, so let's get Matt's list up first, and that's where we're going to start today. Cool. So, Matt. Hey John, could you add my latest work in progress list to the review queue? Yeah, chat is a little quiet at the moment. I hope I'm coming through okay. I mean, because it's not no normal time, I guess the stream is going to be a bit quieter than normal, but maybe some people realize that we have a new time and pick it up on the replay and stuff like that. So, cool. Thanks for chatting, Oscar, appreciate it. So yeah, we're looking at Matt Ground's list, and he starts with a battalion detachment. And obviously this is for match play, and he's got 1 extra relic. He has a squad of company veterans with 2 melta guns. 4 chain swords, 2 melta guns, an infernal pistol, a storm shield, an infernal pistol, and a thunderhammer. Interesting company veteran squad, actually. You don't often see them with chain swords and offensive guns, but interesting to have a couple of melta guns and also a couple of infernal pistols. Get the melta guns that are 10 points usually, and infernals are 5, so it's probably a points reason that he hasn't doubled down on 1. But, cool. Okay, squad of company veterans. Hey Sellers, thanks for dropping in. Okay, then we have a captain on the bike who is a chapter master. He is a master-crafted weapon, a storm shield, and a thunderhammer. So master-crafted thunderhammer is pretty nice on a captain on a bike. I guess the one thing to say though is mastercrafted, a 4 damage thunderhammer is nice, but you're only going to hit on 3s, and I guess I guess he can give himself rerolls because he is a chapter master, which I guess is valuable with the Mastercrafted Thunderhammer. I was trying to think if Hammer of Baal was a better choice here. I guess Hammer of Baal is a better choice, I think, if you're going to be giving your chapter master rerolls to other units. If you're occasionally going to be happy to drop that onto your own units, then, or sorry, if you're occasionally going to be happy to drop that onto the captain himself, then a Mastercrafted Thunderhammer is probably better. The issue with the Mastercrafted Thunderhammer is you only hit on 3s, and I know it doesn't sound bad on paper, but like he only gets 6 attacks, so kind of expect to drop 2 of them. Whereas, like, if you had the Hammer of Baal, you get the same 6 attacks, but you hit on 2s, and the Hammer of Baal has better AP as well, as Sellers pointed out. So yeah, it's a toughie. I think it depends. If you're willing to use the Chapter Master aura on yourself in turn 3 and 4, then I think the Mastercrafted Thunderhammer is good. But if you're not, and you need that to go into other units, then I think Hammer of Baal might actually be a better choice here. We then have Librarian Dreadnought, who is Quickening, Gift of Foresight, Wings of Sanguinius, Iron Resolve, and he is the Warlord. Okay, so Wings, Quickening, Iron Resolve, and Gift of Foresight. It's interesting. I don't like Gift of Foresight on models that do not have invulnerable saves. I think it's a waste of Gift of Foresight. Like, one of the strongest things about Gift of Foresight is putting on a model with a 4-up in Vun, or even a 3-up in Vun. And I try to clean my glasses before the stream, they're still horrifically dirty. I have a glasses wipe in my pocket or something, yeah. I think that Gift of Foresight, like, it's so strong being able to, like, if you have it on a character that has a 3-up in Vun or a 4-up in Vun, being able to reroll 1 for free 10 times per battle, and then also use a command reroll to basically get a second reroll on that. Like, it's so good. I mean, I can understand why you would put Gift of Foresight in Librarian Dreadnought, because he's got the same problem. Like, his weapon skill 3 is his biggest downfall. I like giving him Iron Resolve, actually, because that puts him on 9 wounds, and he's got the Shrug, and he's got the -1 damage, so I do like him with Iron Resolve. I just think Gift of Foresight is probably wasted here. Like, I would have probably put Gift of Foresight on the Captain of the Bike, because I know how survivable he becomes with Gift of Foresight, and then found like another Warlord trait for my Librarian. I think there is other good ones for the Librarian Dreadnought. For example, Imperium Sword, letting him reroll the charge. Like, it basically means he can do like he can move his 6 inches, he can fly his 12 inches from Wings of Sanguinius, and then he can make quite a long charge with a reroll and get +1 attacks. So I guess it's personal preference. I do not like Gift of Foresight on a character that doesn't have an invulnerable save. AWB422 says, where could I find your list for the tournament that you ran, Chain Fist Terminators? Sure, good question. Again, hit up the Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, and go to, here you click playlists, click on the Tactics playlist. Obviously, these are some of my own playlists that I can see, like music I listen to and private playlists. But there should be a Tactics playlist here. Do you know what? If it's not here, maybe I need to reorganize my playlists so they're easier to find. But yeah, the Tactics playlist, and then in the Tactics playlist, it's this one, Grand Tournament 5th place. I mean, I guess you could also just search for Grand Tournament 5th place. That, or I can put this link into the chat. I'm not entirely sure if it will come up in the chat, but there it is in the chat anyway. Whose list are we going to review? We're reviewing Matt Ground's list at the moment. Hopefully you can see that up at the top of the screen. It's your list, Matt. That's what we're talking about. Sorry about the changed time. That's what I was saying before. I'm going to have to do the show in the evening now until further notice. I'm probably going to change the time of the show period, to be honest, because on a Sunday afternoon now I'm dealing with 2 children under the age of 2, so pretty full time. Yeah, so I'm going to try and do it in the evenings. But yeah, so Gift of Foresight on a character that doesn't have an invulnerable save, I think, is lesser. And do you know what? The Librarian Dreadnought also has, like, he's got, like, his weapons are, like, strength 10, like, his force pike is, like, strength, maybe it's not strength 10, it's, like, strength 8 or something. and his fist will be like strength 12. So again, Gift of Foresight, the wound part of it is kind of low value as well, because you're probably going to always be you'll wound everything in the game on 2s probably, so your reroll on wounds might not get you all that much. You're welcome, AWB. I actually really liked that list that I ran at that tournament. I could have won that tournament if I'd had more experience against Grey Knights. I feel like I could have possibly won that tournament. One game away from winning it, obviously, but yeah, I like that list. I have changed it a little bit since the tournament, but I'm experimenting. Like at the next tournament, I would maybe go back to it. Yeah, Gift of Foresight I think is just much better on someone with an invuln save. It's so valuable. Just this week I failed. I think just this week I played against Death Guard, right? And twice they shot my captain with like their entropy cannons from the Plague Burst Crawler, and both times I failed the save, and an entropy cannon is 4 to 6 damage. It's pretty nasty, and both times on my free reroll I passed the save. So I mean, that alone is huge. It's just so much value there. It's like 2 CP value just from 2 saves, and one hit, one wound, 1 save throughout the game. It's huge, I think. Also, it works really well when you Angel Sacrifice a character. If you have a rerolled invulnerable save for free. It's really good as well. Alright, Librarian and Terminator Armor, Veil of Time, Null Zone, Combi Melt of Force Staff. Do you know what? I've ran the Librarian and Terminator Armor myself. I think I like the fact that he's in Terminator Armor, and I think that's why I kept running him. And I painted the Librarian and Terminator Armor before I painted the one with the jump pack. I think the problem with him is the jump pack guy gives you the ability to get out of the range of your own models and vulnerable saves easily, whereas the Librarian and Terminator Armor doesn't for Null Zone. So I prefer a Librarian with a jump pack over a Librarian and Terminator Armor. I think they're both good, but I didn't want to move away from the Librarian and Terminator Armor either, because obviously he has 1 more wound, and he has invulnerable save, and he has a better normal save, a 2-up as opposed to a 3-up. But I think having ran a Librarian and Terminator Armor for like probably like 20 games, and a Librarian with a jump pack for like 20 games, the little bit of survivability you lose is really eclipsed by the movement potential you gain. And also, like, sometimes I take an Oath of Moment, and sometimes you need to be in the middle of the board to score 2 victory points. Sometimes at the end of the game, when the models are all thinned out and there's not much left on the table, having a Librarian with a jump pack that can move like 17 inches, I think, actually 12 plus 6 plus 1, 19 inches potentially, and then just jump right into the middle of the game and score you 2 points or 4 points at the end of the game can sometimes be kind of big as well, and or engage in all front sort of stuff. So Librarian with a jump pack is my preferred one. I guess I don't hate the Terminator one. I ran him a lot, but I prefer the jump pack one. And I usually advocate people to take characters that are survivable, right? But in this one case, I think the jump pack is better. Good day, Carrie. Thanks for tuning in all the way from Western Canada. Okay, troop-wise, Assault Intercessors and Cursors and Infiltrators. And I mean, this is very good. I run Assault Intercessors and 2 squads of Incursors, but I totally understand Infiltrators. I think all these 3 troop choices are good. I've had a lot of success reserving my Assault Intercessors, so think about that, I guess, if you think you could get value in reserving them. They're quite nice to come in and then make a charge onto an enemy onto an enemy objective and try and obsec it away from them. It's pretty fun. We have Apothecary, who is the Selfless Healer, and he also has Visage of Death, so an Apothecary that can remove obsec, is -1 to hit in close combat, and can revive models, etc, etc. How many more points? Oh, right, you already have 3 HQ. Okay, so basically you've got 4 characters in this list, that's fine. Death Company, we got 3 hammers, and then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Bolter and Chainswords. So an 8-man Death Company. I mean, it's a fine ratio, 3 hammers to 3 hammers to 5 bolt pistols and chainswords. I have to think about that for a minute, but yeah, no, that is the ratio. We usually say like 1 for every 4 guys, but 3 and 5 is actually pretty good. I think that's fine. We have a Sanguinary Guard, and it's a 6-man. 2 axes, a power fist, another axe, an infernal pistol, and then 2 swords. That's pretty much how I run my Sangre Guard at the moment as well. I've just for this week started putting 1 power fist into each squad, just so that we can start dealing maybe like if you're trying to make a take all corners list, having a single power fist in there to help against stuff like ramshackle orc vehicles can be pretty useful. Normally I say ignore power fists, but I guess the way the meta is right now, I would say possibly it's kind of okay to have a power fist in there. An assault squad of Terminators. And it's 3 Thunderhammers and Storm Shields and 2 with Lightning Claws, and that's how I like to run Terminators. If I was going to run Assault Terminators, that's how I run them, because if you go all Lightning Claws or you go all Thunderhammers, you limit their effectiveness, it being, like I said, take all corners. You want units that can do multiple things on the battlefield, because you never know exactly what's going to happen. You never know how a game's going to play out. Your Thunderhammer Terminators could end up being right next to a group of Poxwalkers or something, and then they're just going to be bogged down and not going to kill enough and stuff like that. So I like splitting the unit to be able to kill everything, and I guess that's kind of the same as the Sangre Guard just above, so this is good as well. This is a Vanguard Veteran squad with 2, 4, 6, 8 Vanguard Veterans, and Lightning Claws on all of them, and 2 Lightning Claws on the Sergeant, which I think is fine. I mean, if you've only got the Sergeant left, you're kind of in dire straits anyway, right? That's if he hasn't failed leadership. I notice you've got a couple of points here. I would run the Sergeant with a Lightning Claw and an Infernal Pistol. Again, you're just banking on the fact that maybe you only have the Sergeant left, so why would you not just... 1 extra Lightning Claw gives you potential of 1 more attack, but use 2 points here because you get 3 back from Lightning Claw to have an Infernal Pistol. That gives you a potential of 8 damage. And yeah, there's a bunch of games where the Infernal Pistol will do nothing, but there might be a time when you have the Sergeant and 1 other guy left and you're able to make a jump later in the game right near an opponent's character and Infernal Pistol him in the face for 8 damage. And I mean, that's worth the 2 extra points to give up that 1 additional Lightning Claw attack, I feel like. Don't hate me if you've already made the models and you've not magnetized. Do these Vanguard Veterans not have jump packs? Is that right? They're 30 points per model with Lightning Claw and Storm Shield. I didn't realise they didn't have jump packs. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 214 divided by 8. Okay, yeah, so these guys should have jump packs. You might need to lose you might need to lose 1 guy to give all the rest jump packs, because I think they made them 3 points per model now, so that'd be like 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 18. Yeah, they need to have jump packs. Do you know what? If you end up with more points, you could always go Relic Blade, Infernal Pistol. So I actually have 3 different Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. 1 has a Lightning Claw and a Storm Shield, because that's just standard. 1 has a Lightning Claw and an Infernal Pistol, and 1 has a Relic Blade and an Infernal Pistol. And the Relic Blade on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant is nice as well, because it's strength 7, -3, 2 damage, and he gets like 5 attacks. So if you have him with a Relic Blade and an Infernal Pistol, he's never going to do 18 damage in a single turn, but he has the potential to do 18 damage. Good evening, Reziel. How are you doing? Jeff, thanks for tuning in. DTM, good evening. My Ultramarines got reinforced for Christmas. 30 Vanguard Veterans to jump packs using the Suzerain model knockoffs. I don't know what Suzerain models are, but that's pretty cool. We don't often see 30 Vanguard Veterans for Ultramarines. In fact, we never see that, but... yeah, thanks for tuning in at sort of a different time tonight. We are obviously, we're obviously live, right? But we are talking a little bit about army lists, and we're looking at Matt Ground's army list. I just keep checking the stream and everything, because I'm not normally live at this time on a Sunday, so hopefully everything is looking okay. Cool, and thank you guys for being here in the chat. Okay, so let me think about the squad again. Captain, Librarian, Dreadnought, Librarian and Terminator Armor, Assault Intercessors and Cursors, Infiltrators, Apothecary, a 8-man Death Company, a 6-man Sangre Guard, a 5-man Close Combat Terminator Squad, I guess it's probably going to be a 7-man Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws because we lost one guy, and then the Whirlwind, and I'm glad to see the Whirlwind. And then those company veterans. And Sam M donated A50 via Super Chat. Finally managed to catch the live stream. Happy New Year. Looking forward to the 2020 content. Good morning and the best from down here in Australia. Okay, I was actually wondering if I did the stream later in the evening, if that would make it more difficult or easier for Australian people to watch. I have no idea. What is the time? Good morning, Sam. Thank you so much for the 50 Australian dollars. And that's very, very kind of you. I actually have family in Australia. I want to get out there at some point. But yeah, no, what time is it in Australia at the moment? Alright, so in some ways this was a list that I talked about on stream a few weeks back, right? This was basically like, I was trying to say that I haven't seen many lists. It's 9 AM? Okay, so doing the stream in the evening actually makes it easier, because I guess when I was streaming in the afternoon it would be like 4 AM for Australia. Okay, so 9, that's nice, I guess, if Australia people can maybe tune in. And is it Sunday or is it Monday, though? You guys must be ahead of us. It must be 9 AM Monday morning. I mean, that's not ideal either, unless you guys want to go to work and like just do no work for the first couple hours and watch the stream. I mean, I won't tell your bosses, it's okay. Yeah, so this is a list that I talked about before, right? Where it was like, I wanted to see a list that was like all close combat things. So you've got your Vanguard Veterans, you've got your Terminators, you've got your Sangre Guard, you've got your Death Company, you've got an Apothecary to potentially help keep all these guys alive, you've got a squad of Company Veterans, which they'll maybe go with the Apothecary so he can't be shot. You've got your Librarian and Terminator armor that can go with him as well. You got 2 pretty survivable characters in the Librarian Dreadnought and the Captain on the Bike. I would go Gift of Foresight on the Captain on the Bike. And I would go Imperium Sword on the Librarian Dreadnought, because an additional attack. Imperium Sword, or I think it's Champion of Humanity is the other one that's interesting on Librarian Dreadnought. I mean, yeah, I was going to say, or I guess you could go Soul Warden if you wanted to maybe protect your army against a bunch of different mortal wounds. Champion of Humanity makes you a character killer, right? Each time your warlord fights with an engagement range of enemy character, then until that fight is resolved, add 1 to that warlord's attack characteristic, which is good as well, because the Librarian Dreadnought, he's going to get like 10 attacks, right? Librarian Dread. I think I spelled Librarian wrong, but hopefully it will find it. No, Librarian. I have to actually type Dreadnought. Come on, Librarian Dreadnought. He gets 4 attacks, plus you get to make 1 attack with his halberd, that gives him 5. So when he charges, he gets +2, that gives him 7. Is that right? I actually thought he had more than 7 attacks. Oh, because he can cast Quickening on himself. That's right, because he's got Quickening, so he can potentially give himself another 3 attacks. Actually, I guess with Quickening, I was going to say Imperium Sword lets you reroll charges, but Quickening lets you do that as well, so maybe the better option is to take Champion of Humanity, because you potentially get 10 attacks, 11 with Champion of Humanity if you're within range of an enemy character. And the one thing that I like about this is each time the Warlord makes an attack against a character, add 1 to hit and wound. The wound doesn't help us at all, but the 1 to hit actually does help us, because, well, like I've said multiple times, I think the biggest weakness of a Librarian Dreadnought is his 3-up weapon skill. So this makes him a 2-up weapon skill against characters, and basically like 11 attacks. And 11 attacks on a 2-up weapon skill. And they're basically all, strength 12, -3 or -4, 3 damage. I mean, find me a character. Maybe Mortarion can survive that, but I guess not many other characters can, right? I'm usually working on Monday, so never get to catch you. That's fair enough, Sam. Well, thank you so much, Sam. I'm glad you've enjoyed the videos over the last year. The donation is super appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, so So maybe Gift of Foresight here is a question mark. It's the one thing I don't like, and then the one other thing to say about librarians is, especially when you're going to run Null Zone, and I did a video like a while back, and it was like Mephiston versus the Firstborn Librarian. Let me just throw these slides onto the screen just to show you something real quick. Hopefully you can see this okay. I made a slide that showed you the cast chances. So here's your cast chances for every power except Null Zone. So if we talk about Null Zone, your cast chance of Null Zone is 58%. Your cast chance with a reroll is 82%. If you take Psychic Mastery, and you need to upgrade your Psyker to Chief Librarian, it goes up like 14% or 13.87%. I actually did the math, how much it goes up. And your reroll chance goes up 9.62% or 66%. So I guess like, if you want Null Zone to be reliable, then you kind of need to take Psychic Mastery on your Psyker. And like, when I look at your list and I see that you only have 2 powers, Veil of Time and Null Zone. Veil of Time obviously lets you reroll charges and stuff, that's good, but it feels like you're probably going to be wanting to do some Null Zoning here. It's 115 points. If you're not, I wouldn't pay 115 points for just like the charge reroll, right? So, finding 25 points to upgrade this librarian to the Chief Librarian and give him the Psychic Mastery is possibly also kind of important if you want Null Zone to be super reliable. And in doing that, you do get access to take a third power. You can only still cast 2, but you can know a third power. So if you wanted to like know something like Psychic Fortress, so that I talked about making this librarian a jump librarian. Well, if he's a jump librarian and you give him Psychic Fortress as his third power, you can then give your Death Company or Sanguinary Guard a 5-up in Invuln save until you need to activate that Null Zone if you cast Psychic Fortress and stuff like that. Remove the one Company Veteran, 1 Thunderhammer, and run 2 Librarian Dreads instead, or maybe you want Null Zone badly. The Librarian Dreadnought, I don't think you can run 2 of them effectively, because I think they need to have wings to be effectively knucking, and obviously you can't cast the same power twice from 2 Psychers, so unless it's Smite, of course. So because only one of them can cast wings, I think the Librarian with a jump pack is the best Psyker right now. I mean, I've run him for the last 6 months. I got to the top table in a tournament with him in the list. And don't get me wrong, like, I love Librarian Dreadnought. I prefer Librarian Dreadnought to Mephiston. I just have struggled to make him work in 9th, where I really found, like, a lot of time. I've got a lot of value out of my Librarian with a jump pack and Null Zone. Like, if we talk about just games I've done on stream in the last year, there was that game against Colin where with my Librarian with Null Zone, we killed Mortarion in turn 1. That was a pretty, if you're playing a Death Guard player and you kill Mortarion in turn 1, and I think he maybe in that entire game he shot Mortarion's pistol 1 time, that was it. So everything else I like in this list. I like the fact that you've got 4 different hard-hitting close combat squads. I like the fact you've got the Whirlwind, so you can do some shenanigans with like Fight Last. I like that you've got like veterans and an apothecary that can maybe hold the center board. One other thing that I don't like though, and maybe it's not a problem, but it's just worth thinking about, is I don't like making lists that make it easy for my opponent to score points. And this list, because you have 4 characters, you maybe open the door a little bit to assassinate. I guess you're possibly okay because you've got a bunch of veterans, and you do have a bunch of survivable characters, and the Librarian Dreadnought and the Captain of the Bike are pretty survivable, so maybe against this list, picking Assassinate is a little bit of a trap. But overall I think it's kind of nice. Maybe I'm a little confused about your Company Veterans loadout. I think I would build these guys a little bit more for survivability. And I think I would either prioritize them as a shooting unit or a close combat unit, and it seems like all your other stuff is close combat. So, and really, like, I guess like 2 meltagun shots. Would you be better off just saving some points here and having like company veterans with storm shields and have them like go to the middle of the table? This is like, I'd be more worried about Two Psychers versus Thousand Suns. Yeah, I mean, I guess the Psychic armies, you're going to struggle a little bit, right, with Two Psychers. Against the Psychic armies, you're in a tough position, right? You either have to take no Psychers and maybe take like a Calixus Assassin, or take protection against mortal wounds, which isn't that effective, or you have a Psyker and you just know it's going to be a tough game. But I think I said this week that I hate tactical squads. For example, like if I have a multi-melta on a tactical squad, right? You know, multi-melta gets 2 shots at 24 inches or whatnot. So imagine your melta guns are just half-range multi-meltas. You're going to get 2 shots here, you hit on 3s, and you wound on 2s or 3s. So you really, you know, you're paying 20 points to make the opponent make 1 save within 12 inches. And then when the opponent shoots you back, you're just dead because you're just a 2-moon marine on a 3-up save. Like, what is the role of the company veterans in this list? Like, the way I see the company veterans is they would be with the apothecary, probably heading like center board or heading to sit and contest on an objective. And if that's what they're doing, then like melta guns and infernal pistols aren't gonna be great. So I'd probably just repurpose these guys to be a little bit more, like, have a little bit more purpose. Stormbolters and Storm Shields. I would actually prefer Stormbolters and Storm Shields on this squad. If you know, keep the Sergeant with a Thunderhammer, because that means that there's a little bit of a deterrent for charging them. But yeah, if you had Stormbolters and Storm Shields, they could just be sort of a strong unit that can sit on an objective. You're also considering Chainfist Terminators. Do you know what? Chainfist Terminators cost the exact same amount of points as these guys, I think. It's like 190 points. When I ran them in my list, I ran them with an assault cannon, so that might have been 200 points I spent. I think they're 38 points per model, plus the assault cannon, plus the teleport armor. So yeah, maybe it was like 10 points more than this. But I actually don't think... Like, if you have Thunderhammer Terminators with Storm Shields in your list, those things are so difficult to kill. If you put them in cover, they're on a 0-up save, for example. I would then... Hey Fabian, thank you so much for subscribing. I would then consider... And you have a healer that can bring them back for free every turn. Like, at that point, I think that's better than the Storm Shield. Sorry, I think that's better than the Chainfist Terminators. The reason that I ran the Chainfist Terminators was kind of twofold. Was one, they're very good at dealing with Orc Buggies, because they would do the flat 3 damage against Orc Buggies, and their Stormbolters are pretty good at toughness 3 infantry. And we do see a decent amount of that stuff in the meta. But Orc Buggies just got nerfed right after that tournament. Admech got nerfed right after that tournament. Storm Shield Terminators are obviously still more survivable if you can bring them back. Arguably, they're better. They're more damage dealing, because they're always 3 damage, whereas Chainfists are D3 against non-vehicles. So I actually own a bunch of Assault Terminators, and I think at some point you'll probably see them in my list. I need to paint a bunch of them. They're not well painted, but I have. Yeah. So I think my thoughts on this list is change out the weaponing give the Vanguard Veterans jump packs. Give the Sergeant an Infernal Pistol if you have the points. If not, double Lightning Claws is fine. The Sanguinary Guard is a good loadout. The Death Company is a good loadout. The Apothecary is fine. It would be nice if it's a Sanguinary Priest, but obviously you can't do that because you've got the 3 HQ. If you change out your Librarian for the one in the jump pack, then I think your weakest HQ is actually Librarian Dreadnought. So I would definitely get Gift of Foresight off of him. And yeah, I mean, like, his weapon skill 3 just makes him swingy. and that's the bottom line there. He's good if you put Chapter Master rerolls on him, but sometimes it feels like the Chapter Master rerolls would be better on or more value on other squads. So, and then I'd probably try and shore up your company veterans loadout to just make a little bit more sense. Okay. Highland Phoenix also says you could try Combi Flamers with Storm Shields and a Heavy Flamer for the ultimate charge deterrent. Yeah, I mean, you could do that as well. Sad you can't run Chain Fist and a Storm Shield. That would be interesting if you'd run Chain Fist and a Storm Shield, wouldn't it? Happy New Year, Camille. Just got back home again and starting to paint Assault Terminators before the stream. Yeah, so Assault Terminators. Hopefully we'll see more of them in 2022 than we saw 2021. Henry says, I have a death ball of lots of Sanguinary Guard, Vanguard veterans, or Priest for res, and a Librarian for null zone, and 5 intercessors. I got 188 points left, not sure what to add. What size list, Henry? Like, how many points are you playing? Okay, so OBSEC, objective holding map, you're going to get like an 8. You've got 3 troop choices there. Yeah. You also have Visage of Death. Yeah, I was thinking, I think he's got Visage of Death in this list. We're going to give you 8.5 there, for sure. 1,000 points, okay. Incursors are very good. I highly rate Incursors as a troop choice if you need more troops. I guess you probably don't have any elite slots left because you were talking you've got Sanguinary Guard and Vanguard veterans, so attack bikes with multi-meltas, or land speeders with multi-meltas, or inceptors with double plasma, or even inceptors with bolters are good as well, because they all go into fast attack. Another thing you can do, Henry R. I've not seen you in chat before, Henry. So if you're new to my channel, then search you just go into Google and just search Blood Angels Commander tier list, right? And what you'll see here is I've tiered every single unit, troop, heavy support, Forge World. I've tiered everything, and it's all in a playlist on the YouTube channel. So you click on like the elite tier list, for example, and basically, like, if a picture will come up, you can see that we've gone through every unit, rating them from like S to D. S is like super, A is awesome, B is bad, C is crap, and D is dumpster. And there's a playlist on this channel. There's a playlist called... They need to make it easier to find playlists, but there is a playlist with all these tier lists on this. I think actually if you just go onto the channel and scroll down a little bit, look, tactics, tier lists. Here's your tier list playlist. So you could use that to, like, so if you pick stuff that comes up in the S or the A column, then you're picking like really strong units in the current meta. But thanks for watching, Henry. I don't think we've met you before. Okay. Anti-Horde infantry. A little bit of firepower coming out here. A little bit of firepower coming out from the Sanguinary Guard. So Anti-Horde infantry seems fine. You don't have a ton of weapons, or you don't have a ton of shooting to blow through. I guess a Whirlwind's a little bit decent at Anti-Horde as well, but yeah, it's probably like an 8. Against monsters, so 3 damage weapons in this list then. We've got 3 Thunderhammers in the Terminator squads. We've got an Infernal Pistol here, that gives us 4. We've got 3 more Thunderhammers here, that gives us 7. Our Librarian, both Librarians and the Captain all have 3 damage weapons, that gives us 10. We get 2 more Infernal Pistols, 2 more Melta Guns. So we've got like 15 3 damage weapons, 3 damage or more. So that's pretty good. So I think like 9.5. Usually I recommend like you want 10 3 damage or more weapons. I've been running like 12 in my list and I've still been winning. I just live in New Zealand, so times are a bit off. That's fine. This is probably the first time I've done an army list show that people in New Zealand or Australia can catch, so maybe this is actually a better time to do it. Do you know what? I was looking out my Inceptors today, actually. Yeah, check this out. I was looking at mine today because I haven't run Plasma Inceptors in like 6 months. So my ones, will my camera focus on them? Will it? Maybe, maybe not. I put Sanguinary Guard wings on them, sort of upside down. I guess that's too close for my camera to focus on. But yeah, so I was thinking maybe I need to get these guys finished painting so that we can run some Plasma Inceptors, because I've run Bolter Inceptors. My Bolter Inceptors are painted fully, but my Plasma ones haven't been done. But I think Contemptor Dreadnoughts are going to be nerfed, so I think Plasma Inceptors might start coming back in a little bit more heavily than they currently are. Yeah, they're 60 points per model. It is costly, but like I still think they're good, especially the fact that we can spend like that 1 CP stratagem, Descent of the Angels, and give them like a +1 to their hit when they arrive. And then if you arrive them near a Dreadnought or a Captain with an aura, you could reroll your ones, so it's like you can have 18 Strength 8 Plasmas. Is it Strength 8? I think it's Strength 8. Yeah, you could have up to 18, on average 12, but obviously they're blast. You could have up to 18 Strength 8 -3 Plasmas with 2 damage a shot. Hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. And these guys are Gravis, so they are like Toughness 5, and you can buff them with like Transhuman and stuff like that. Modelling for disadvantage, yeah, I always model for disadvantage. I model for coolness, Highland Phoenix, but here's the thing, I still make it to the top table in tournaments, so not that much disadvantage, just enough to get that Blood Angels flavour in there. Come on, those Inceptors with the upside. Do you know what? I'll tell you, if you search like Blood Angels Primaris Inceptors painting, maybe, I bet you maybe I'll see the picture of the guy that did it, because there was a guy that, when I first came back to, God damn it. Yeah, this guy, this is what inspired me. This was when I first came back to the hobby, I found this website, and like this guy's Inceptors inspired me. I thought he'd stuck the wings to the shoulder pads, but he's actually stuck them behind them, and I feel a bit dumb now because I stuck mine to the shoulder pads. Like mine just comes straight out of the middle of the shoulder pads, and this is obviously probably a bit better, but oh well, I'm a noob, I'm an idiot, but this inspired me. These are... Do you know what? He's done some, like, he did some upside down wings, and then he's done some up the right way. And looking at it now, I think I prefer the ones done up the right way. So, oh well. You know, you live and you learn. Mine are doubly wrong, but this is very cool. But he's obviously done the Bolter ones. So my Bolter ones don't have wings. I just decided to do wings on my Plasma ones because I felt like they were the more damaging / cool ones. Alright, mobility then. Mobility in this list is kind of excellent. The Apothecary and the Company Veterans, I guess, aren't mobile, and Librarian and Terminator Armor aren't mobile, but you've already said you're maybe going to change that out. So maybe like an 8. And then specialization. So what do we have? We have a Fight Last from the Whirlwind. We've got 2 denies. We have 3 units for actions. We have 15 3-damage weapons. We have 9 CP, which is really good. I would actually spend like at least 1 more before the battle starts. And we have no protection against mortals. We could get some protection against mortals. That could... Oh, well, we've got a little bit of protection against mortals, actually, because we've got a Sanguinary Priest who's going to give infantry protection against mortals. So, on a 6. I know it's not great, it's on a 6, but it's still something. So, yeah, I think specialization-wise, that's actually very... So, I said for a while, I don't like the Golden Scepters, says Steel Rain. See, I just like doing gold as a bit of a change, I guess, if you end up painting a ton of red or a ton of Death Company stuff, then I think the gold is just a nice change. So I do a bunch of my elites in gold, but if you don't like it, you don't have to do it, you know? This guy inspired me, maybe. with his painting. Anyway, okay, so I think that's the end of this list. And I think there's a 43.5. I talked about a list very similar to that a few weeks ago, saying it would be really cool to actually see one of these style lists in play. So yeah, I would make some changes. Everything looks better with wings / hashtag join Siege, says DTM. Yeah, so this is a high scoring list. I think it's probably pretty competitive. I love the fact that the whirlwind's in there as well, which makes like the backfield holding pretty strong. And then yeah, hopefully that give you some help on a couple of things, Matt. Okay, cool. We're going to start on Steel Rain's list next, and Steel Rain has been excited for me to see this list. So hopefully, it looks like it cut off a little bit of sentence, but hopefully it'll be fine. So you drop Dante. I felt like the Chapter Master reroll is mostly wasted with the majority of my force being Sangre Guard. Why Astaroth? Frankly, he's very underrated. He's 150 points, he's a native 2-up and a 4-up and 12-inch move, and a built-in Soul Warden with Manta of Strength. He's got 7 attacks and Assault Doctrine, Strength 7, -4, 4 damage. He's a monster. He's got Massive Doom, which is okay to throw in the Sangre Guard if they're going to run off by themselves. I've also given him Recantation of Focus, so I can combine him with a Tech Marine to make both dreads on hits on 2+. This also makes him useful if I have to hold him back for a turn or two, which often happens in some matchups. I've got a Priest and a Tech Marine because guaranteed healing is always good, and I can't live without Chalice at this point. Being able to put all 3 Sangre Guard and Assault Doctrine for 3 CP is very useful. How can you put them all in Assault Doctrine? Because you can put... So you put 1 in for free, you put 1 into Assault Doctrine for using the Blood Chalice stratagem, and then you pay 2 CP for the Space Marine one that activates all the doctrines. Is that right? I forget what that Space Marine one is called. Adaptive strategy or something. Adaptive strategy. Is that right? Yeah, make a core unit of your army until the start of the next phase. Devastator, Tactical, and Assault Doctrine are active. Okay, cool. Alright, so you can put all 3 Sangre Guard into Assault Doctrine in turn 1, or whatever early turn you want to put them in. I'm very happy with that. Was largely a list of my favourite units plus some stuff to actually be a bit competitive. Appreciate the help with the HQs and the company veterans. I'll tweak it and let you know. No problem, Matt. Thank you for submitting the list. Okay. I've added a Power Fist to each Sangre Guard unit. It's not been a large issue, but I've had some difficulty killing Toughness 7 things and felt that were better value than 1 Infernal Fist. I have done just the same. This week I'm going to run a Power Fist in both my Sangre Guard. Again, it helps against Toughness 7+, and it also helps against Orc vehicles with Ramshackle. What are those new orcs? The ones that all get -1 if it's not Strength 8. I forget. I forget the name of the orc chapter. They're not freebooters. They are... Someone will remember the name of it. Not even seen the list yet, but sadly it needs more Sangre Guard. That's funny. For anyone that doesn't watch the stream regularly, we do have a meme made by Steel Rain himself, and it is the need more Sangre Guard meme. So yeah, that's funny that someone else should mention that. Okay, cool. Contemptor loadout is to take the Chain Fist to help address the above problem while having some good shooting. Having 4 crack missiles a turn gives me some good ranged anti-tank fire. The Dreads are more useful for getting stuck in with the rest of the army for anti-tank melee support, being able to use Wisdom of Ancient. All Volkite build, I would just hold them back, which I felt was a waste. Yeah, I mean, I hold my Dreads back with the double Volkite build, which I guess sometimes can be a waste. It's Ramshackle is on all orc vehicles, but there was a faction of orcs in the new codex where they just get -1 damage across everything, I think, not just vehicles. And I can't remember what faction it was. We got 5 Death Company with hammers, expensive, but I want to make sure I kill my Alpha Strike, and there's not much better way to use these points here. A Vengeance Launcher on the Whirlwind. I'm not really worried about missing a suppression, as it as it requires rolling bad twice. Extra strength and AP and damage are helpful. Sorry for the essay, let me know what you think. Cool. Alright, so we've got Astrath, you can use the Warlord, Mantra of Strength, Recantation of Focus, and I guess because he is the Warlord, that gives you Soul Warden, so that is one thing of protection. So, I obviously don't run Astrath, period. I used to run him a lot, like before they used to be 110 points, and I ran them all the time. When they put them up to 150 points, I was just like, I just dismissed him at 150 points straight away. I was like, that is too many points. So what are you seeing? You're seeing that he's got 4 attacks, 2 more for charging, so he's got 6, and then you can cast Mantra of Strength to give him 7, and with Mantra of Strength, he gives himself Strength 7, AP minus 3, and 4 damage. Is that correct? I guess the one problem is his Mantra of Strength requires a 3+ because he's not the Wise Orator. I'd want attacks and strength, yeah. So it gives him Strength 7, minus 3, 4 damage. And obviously Death Company within 6 can't fail morale. He's still got his 4-up save. Blood Angels within 6 can use his leadership of 9. I remember I'm sure he used to have leadership 10. Is a Power Fist on every squad of Sanguinary Guard preferred. Up until recently, not so much. Up until recently, I think people have been saying Axes is the best way to go in Sanguinary Guard, Salty. And thanks for being here. I don't think I've seen you in chat before either. So Axes seem to be better right now. There's so much Toughness 5 stuff rolling around, but we are now sort of seeing a lot of armor that is like, and obviously ramshackle orc vehicles. We were just talking about that. So I think adding 1 Power Fist to a Sanguinary Guard squad is fine. If you can't afford it, it's fine as well if you've got mostly axes. I like to add 1 Infernal Pistol as well. But, I mean, some people, I think the best loadout at the moment is probably just all bolters and all axes on the Sanguinary Guard. Unless you have Null Zone, the axes AP usually is enough to push enemies onto their invulnerable save. Because once you hit turn 3, the axes are minus 3, right? So most things with minus 3 are going to be on their invulnerable save, or they're going to be saving on only in a 6, and it's going to be unreliable. But I have just started adding one Power Fist, and obviously that's what Steel Rain's saying here as well. We also have a Sanguinary Priest, who's the Jump Pack, Chief Apothecary, Hero of the Chapter, Selfless Healer, and he's got Icon of the Angels, so we got rerolls and a bubble for charges around him. And we got the Primaris Tetmarine, who is Master of the Forge, and I like the Primaris Tetmarine with Master of the Forge a lot. He's a solid character. He's also a good candidate for Quake Bolts, right? Because he's got his 24-inch bolter that's assault, and he can move, and he can he's got a ballistic skill of 2+. The Snakebite Orcs, thank you. Yes, Snakebite Orcs have transhuman versus strength 7 or below, so it's horrific against Sanguinary Guard. In fact, because Sanguinary Guard can only wound Sanguinary Guard axes and swords can only ever wound Snakebite Orcs on 4s, so it basically cuts your damage by like 50%. Yeah, I think I only lost 1 game on stream in like the last 6 months, and it was against Snakebite Orcs. And it was my first game against them. I beat them in future games, but in my first game against them, I really struggled because that transhuman versus anything that's strength 7 or below is bad against Blood Angels. It just totally wrecks your wound rolls really, really hard. And we don't have many ways to reroll wounds, right? Like, the only way you could really reroll wounds is like Wisdom of the Ancient or Lieutenant, and I don't run Lieutenant, and usually my Dreadnoughts are going to not be close enough to give my melee units Wisdom of the Ancients. Troop-wise, we have Assault, Intercessors, and 2 squads of Incursors, so I think Steel Rain's actually just copied what I run in my list here, so he gets no credit for this, but I get some credit for him copying my troop selection, so that's good. I'm joking. The reason I probably ran this is because of Steel Rain, so this is solid. Elite-wise, we got 2 Relic Contemptors, Twin Volkite covering. It's called the Twin Volkite covering, but he's just got, I guess, 1 on 1 arm. He's got 1 arm Twin Volkite, a cyclone missile launcher on both, and then the chain fist on the plasma blaster on the other, and that's 180 points. So it gives the Relic Contemptor, like you said, a couple of crack missiles, 8 Volkite shots, which are pretty darn good. He's got both of the dreadnoughts hitting on 2+, and then he's got the chain fists with the plasma blaster. I don't remember off the top of my head the profile for the plasma blaster. Let me just look at it. Relic Contemptor. Where would you be? You should be here somewhere. It's an elite. Relic, here we go. Plasma blaster is... where? Contemptor Plasma Blaster. 18 inches, Assault 2, Strength 7. So basically an Assault 2, which is kind of nice. Do you know what? It's just basically an Inceptor's plasma gun, isn't it? You can do Strength 8 -3, 2 damage, and you can give yourself mortals. Okay. We then have Sanguinary Guard, and each Sanguinary Guard is 6 man, 2 swords, 3 axes, and a power fist in all of them. No Infernal Pistols. If you'd had like 5 points here, I would have taken the Infernal Pistols. Steel Rain says you copied me. Yeah, maybe. Regiel says he ran Astaroth recently. He was a beast. Okay. Worst thing about taking Astaroth is his axe that breaks all the time. Yes, the stupid Finecast axe. I challenge anyone to have an Astaroth that hasn't had the axe broken at some point. I know my axe on Astaroth is definitely pinned with a metal, with a bit of a paper clip to keep it together. And then we've got the 5 Death Company with Thunderhammers, man, they're so expensive. I like them, but they're just so expensive, aren't they? And then we've got the Whirlwind with the Vengeance Launcher. If this was me, Steel Rain, I'd take the what's the other one called? The Castellan. I would take the Castellan launcher, and I would put an Infernal Pistol into both of my Sanguinary Guard squads. I don't think the Whirlwind is ever a damaging unit, right? Like, in my games, you're either shooting something to suppress them, or you're just trying to clear out chaff, because it doesn't do any damage. So, like, you know, like last week against the Death Guard, he'd run like 3 squads of 20 Poxwalkers. Well, that's nice. The Whirlwind gets 12 shots whenever we shoot the Poxwalkers. It still doesn't do any damage. I mean, it kills like maybe 5 Poxwalkers if you're lucky. I think one of the times it killed like 2 of them. Yeah, I think the Whirlwind is just not a damaging unit. It just sits on the backfield objective and it suppresses things. That's it. And I would rather have 2 Infernal Pistols on these Sanguinary Guards, because these Sanguinary Guard squads, if you've got 3 of them, you're usually going to have like 1 or 2 models left. So you can sort of like face melt an enemy character with a Sanguinary Guard that can move 12 inches, make the enemy character the closest model, and then Infernal Pistol them. Not sure 5 hammers makes much difference. Well, I mean, Death Company get 5 attacks each, right, if they're an Assault Doctrine. So you get 25 Thunderhammer hits. You get no way of re-rolling, so you get like 12. You get 12 and a half hits, and then you wound on 2, so you make the enemy take like 10 saves from the Death Company against Thunderhammers. I think if you're not running any way to give the Death Company rerolls, then I probably go all Thunderhammers. I agree with this. If he had like a Chapter Master that could give these Death Company rerolls, then I'd be okay with like 4 for 1, like you said, DTM. I don't think the Infernal Pistol and the Sanguinary Guard is worth it. Yeah, I mean, it's hit or miss, right? And I guess in some ways you could argue an Infernal Pistol is the same as, like, you know how I said I hate tactical squads because if you put a multi-melt on the tactical squad, you're just getting like 2 shots per turn on a 3-up, and it's totally unreliable. Nucking, what's the best way to kitbash 5 company veterans with shields? I was considering 1 old Space Marine captain, the 4 master of the chapter. Would that be valid on a GT? I don't own a lot of spare bits. I mean, if you bought a Vanguard veteran squad, Vanguard veterans come with 4 storm shields. But yeah, I mean, I don't think company veterans ever got models. I don't know if there was ever a box that was like a company veterans box. I don't remember seeing it. Maybe someone in chat can correct me if I'm wrong here. But yeah, back on the point of the Infernal Pistols. The Infernal Pistols is kind of the same as like that multi-melta, right? The multi-melta in the tactical squad, you're just going to shoot it like 2 or 3 times a game, and like maybe you make a couple of hits or maybe you don't. The Infernal Pistol is the same. The difference is the Infernal Pistol is 5 points, and the difference is if you're near your Warlord, you're hitting on a 2, re-rolling a 1. So yeah, I think probably over, like, you can't look at it as a single game, because you could go through like 10 games and never get any value out of those Infernal Pistols. But then in one game, you could end up with all 3 Sanguinary Guard having 1 model left, and they all just jump in next to like a dreadnought or a tank, and they all hit with their Infernal Pistol and they all wound. And the Infernal Pistol is like -5 in turn 3, so like there's no save if they don't have invuln saves. So I've definitely had games. I have definitely had games on stream, and I'm sure you've watched the games, where like I've melted things in the face with Infernal Pistols from my captain and from my Sanguinary Guard. So it happens. It just doesn't happen every game. And in some ways, that's kind of how I got myself in trouble in 9th edition, because I was running the Null Zone Librarian for a lot of games, and I was winning every game I played, and I was like, I don't need this Null Zone Librarian, I'm going to drop him because I win every game. And then it turns out, like, in some games, Null Zone is just nothing, right? You don't need Null Zone, you're never going to cast it, you're never going to use your Librarian in that way. But then in other games, you feel like, holy crap, the Librarian was actually really valuable. So I think the Infernal Pistols go the same way. The reason I like them is it's just 5 points, as opposed to like putting a multi-melt on a tactical squad or, you know, something like that that's a lot more expensive. Reziel says I only rate Infernal Pistols as very incidental. And yeah, I think that's exactly it, Reziel. Like, you'll go into game, and I only run, I think in my current list I have an Infernal Pistol on my captain, an Infernal Pistol and 1 Sanguinary Guard out of the 2 squads. And yeah, you'll go into, I play 3 or 4 games where I don't do any damage with my Infernal Pistols. And then another game I might hit and wound with both of them and do 16 damage, you know? So it's like you said, it's swingy, but I'm okay with it because it's just 5 points. So, I mean, that's something to consider as well, right? Hashtag 8 damage Infernal Pistols, yeah, sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. Okay, so... interesting to see both the Priest and the Tech Marine. I mean, I like the Tech Marine a lot. It makes sense if you've got 2 Relic Contemptors. The Priest makes sense, if you've got 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard and Death Company, you can get them all into close combat. The Vengeance Launcher I'm indifferent on. I think over a course of a bunch of games, I would get more damage out of 2 Infernal Pistols over the extra damage you would get with the Vengeance Launcher, because the Vengeance Launcher is the same profile as Suppressors, and I ran Suppressors a bunch of times and felt like they were just so underwhelming. So if I feel like Suppressors are super underwhelming, and Suppressors get 9 shots, the Vengeance Launcher is going to average like 3 or 4 shots, so the Vengeance Launcher is literally going to have the strength of like a single Suppressor, and I thought like a squad of Suppressors was shit. So I think I don't know, I think this is a wasted 10 points, but I mean, it's totally up to you. That's my opinion. I like what you've done with the Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Obviously, I like the troop choices, they're the same as mine. I'm interested in Astaroth for his damage output, and I guess the Priest is good for the revive and stuff like that. Yeah, suppressors need line of sight, but when I was running my suppressors, I was running them trying to near the chapter masters, so it was like 9 shots, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, and I still didn't think they were very good. And Astaroth, yeah, I mean, like, in terms of raw damage output, I like Astaroth, but 150 points, for me, I prefer a more survivable character. I mean, that doesn't mean what you're doing with Astaroth is wrong. I mean, if he gets in combat, he's just going to wreck. He's going to absolutely wreck, right? Hitting on 2s, probably wounding on 2s or 3s, -4 damage. So he's potential to do what, like, 28 damage in a turn or something. I mean, that's really, really nasty. Obviously, your litany would need to go off for that, but I mean, it's not going to be that difficult. And I do like Massive Doom, in that you can give some of these Sanguinary Guard or whatever bonuses to hit, and also you can give them invulnerable saves as well. So you can use Massive Doom in the command phase. Can use it on your Forlorn Fury Death Company, yeah? So you can give them +1 to hit as well. Okay, that's pretty nice. I mean, if you got a 6, that would be sick if you give the Death Company an invulnerable save as well. I prefer the Blight Chaplain, 140 points, and Transhuman is too good to pass. Yeah, I mean, it's a different approach, right? This is a more damaging list, I think, than my list. And I think, there's different ways to play the game. This is more of like this has a more strong Alpha Strike component. And I often look at this and consider playing it or want to play it, but I usually fall back on what I know, and I guess what I know is a little bit more of a defensive type of playing Blood Angels. The Vengeance Launcher deals 1.33 damage against a toughness 7 tank with a 3-up save. AK tickles them. You're lucky to bracket them. Yeah, and I mean, my opinion of both weapon profiles on the Whirlwind are poor. Neither of them do any damage, so I prefer to just take the cheaper version, and it's okay against Horde, I guess, is the way to look at it. If the enemy don't have a save, i.e. like play Poxwalkers like we played this week, then they're okay. I think Astaroth is about survivable as a bite character when you play jump pack characters well. Easier to move, easier to screen, easier to hide, better in terrain. Math Hammers for pessimists. I mean, there's something to be said about playing jump characters well, but there's also something to be said about, like, sometimes in a game your character gets exposed. There's sometimes nothing you can do about that when your character gets exposed, and the question is, can your character survive if he is exposed? And I know sometimes my bite captain has survived situations when he's exposed that maybe I think Dante can't survive, so I guess Astaroth can't survive. The Vengeance Launcher gives more versatility. Fair enough. Okay. Let me think about scoring then, I think. So, elite-wise, it's 2 Relic Contemptors, 3 Sanguinary Guard, Death Company. Whirlwind, guess, can hold the backfield. Tet Marine, Sanguinary Priest, Astaroth, and then nice squad of Assault Troops. Death Company, Jump Pass plus Astaroth, Massive Doom could be pretty devastating, yeah. And obviously you can have them in Assault Doctrine from turn 1, and you can make a turn 1 charge, and with a decent roll of Massive Doom, you can I suppose you can have 25 Thunderhammer hits hitting on 3s. What's that, like 18 hits, give or take? Something like that. 25 times 0.6666. Okay, 16. I was wrong. But yeah, still 16 Thunderhammer hits in turn 1 on pretty much any unit is going to, at minus 3 AP. That's going to be pretty good. Good evening, Lord Lucidic. How you doing? Okay, so now let's think about scoring. I think OBSEC is probably similar to the last list. 8. There is no Visage of Death or anything like this. I'm actually wondering if the last list should have been 9 then, because I think the last list probably should have been 9. So we'll say 8.5 on this list for the 3 troop choices. Anti-Horde Infantry. Well, I mean, you're going to get... What do you get here? 36 Angelus Bolter shots. You get 16 Twin Volkite shots. You've got 2 potential frag missiles if you needed them. You got the Vengeance Launcher as well. And then you've got your troops. Your Tet Marine can do a little bit of anti-Horde. So in terms of actually anti-Horde firepower, you got quite a lot of anti-Horde firepower in here. It's 9, maybe it's 9.5. I mean, positioned right, this could be 36 Assault Bolter shots. That's no, or Angelus Bolter shots. That's no That's no small feat. In turn 2, that's also in turn 2, that's also minus 2 AP. Now I'm going to give you 9.5 for anti-horde infantry, I think. Alright, 3 damage weapons. What we got? We got the 5 thunder hammers here. We've got the 2 cyclones, the 2 train fists. I reckon that's like 9. The Tet Marine gives us 10. And then Astaroth kind of gives us 11. So we're all good on 3 or more damage weapons. Like I said, I would definitely swap out the Vengeance Launcher for 2 Infernal Pistols, but if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. Afternoon, James. How you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. We are live quite a bit later than normal, and we're going to be live later on a Sunday night going forward. I will figure out an exact time with my wife, and I'll try and post the stream up a little bit earlier in the future. Okay. So anti-horde monster. We got those 12 3 damage weapons, 11 or 12. I can't remember what I said, but yeah, it's fine. 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard is a lot of damage. That's 18 Sanguinary Guard. 2 Contemptor Dreadnoughts is a solid amount of damage. The 5 Death Company. I think we probably go 9.5. I don't think I ever rate things as a 10. I think 9.5 is probably pretty fair there. Mobility-wise then, what is not mobile on this list? Your Assault Intercessors, your Relic Contemptors. The Whirlwind doesn't need to be mobile. So, and then your Tet Marine again, but he doesn't really need to be mobile. I think this is probably a 9. And then we have the Fight Last. We don't have any denies, but we do have protection against mortal wounds because Astaroth has Soul Warden. We have the Priest, so we get 2 protection against mortals, I guess. We have we have no denies, but we do have 3 units for actions, plus I guess potentially all 3 units of the Sanguinary Guard could do actions as well, so potentially we have 6 units for actions. 3 damage weapons, we have over 10, so that's good. CP, how many CP are you starting with? 9. Okay. It's a little bit sad there's not a good target for Quake Bolts here. I mean, maybe the Primaris Tet Marine could take Quake Bolts. That gives you a 24-inch +1 to hit. I mean, it might be useful. Nine CP is good though. 9 CP is fine, and then you've got 2 protections against mortal wounds here. So I think, no denies, but when you've got protection against mortal wounds, it's probably fine. Probably makes up for it. Some of your protection for mortal wounds obviously works on your dreadnoughts as well, which is totally nice. I'd run Multi-Melta for anti-tank on the Contemptors rather than the Volkites, but you need to playtest it. I mean, at the moment, with the cheapness of the Volkites, I think the Volkites are better than a Multi-Melta Steel Rain. I've had a single... I played Death Guard last week, and a single Volkite arm did 5 mortal wounds before he isn't to make any saves. So, Volkite arms are more powerful than Multi-Meltas for the points cost as it currently stands. I think if they go up to 35 points, the only thing Volkites are weak against, I think, are enemies that run like stuff with a 2-up armor save. I run Quake Bolts on a Tet Marine for about 3 months. It's a staple on my list. So yeah, the thing I like about the Tet Marine is he can move 6. He can advance D6 +1. So on average, probably moves like 9 or 10 inches, and then he can Quake Bolts 24 inches. And his gun doesn't do that much damage. It's like Strength 5 -1, 2 AP. Strength 5 -1 AP, 2 damage. You get 3 shots. So, yeah, and he's going to have both Dreadnoughts hitting on 2s. So I think that I think the Twin Volkites is a better option here. The Cyclone Missile Launchers will be fine. They'll do your D6 damage, maybe, if they're lucky. But, until Volkites go up in cost, Volkites are still probably the best choice. Just because the potential mortal wounds they can throw out. And then, yeah, the only thing I think I would want to add here is like Quake Bolts. Really? I mean, you could have a squad of Incursors take Quake Bolts, I guess, as well, if you did have them forward deploying. and it would just give you a little bit more. Like 9 CP is a lot to start the game with. I feel like so. I think my lists start with 8, and then I pay 1 to put like my assault intercessors into strategic reserve. So I really start with 7 or 6 sometimes. So 9 seems really solid here as well. I think this is probably. I mean, the last list was pretty good. Matt's list was pretty good, and that's something that I'd wanted to see for a while. But yeah, I mean, I think this list is pretty high scoring as well. Pretty good. I think one of the reasons I think I like it more as well is because you don't have the Librarian. You're stronger against psychic armies because you can take Aboard the Witch and get like 15 points easily. Something to note when it comes to determining how, if, when you want to use Transhuman, it might be worth noting that if you run the Successor chapter, the Stalwart gives Transhuman to Tactic. I think it gives you like a lesser version of Transhuman, right? You can only wound them on 3-ups. Yeah, I mean that is a nice Successor chapter trait. I cannot lie. I'm running the same Contemptors myself. Steel Rain convinced me of this build. I could run them. I have the Siege Claws, but maybe I could get some Chain Fists. Chain Fists are really good right now. If you're running Contemptors or Leviathans, like Siege Claws and Chain Fists is probably the way forward. I really like having the extra CP. And what do you use all those CP for then? Sorry. What did I miss? I want to give the Contemptor with the Chain Fist and Volcon a try. Sounds fun. Yeah, I mean, I probably should try that as well. It's an interesting one. I'm sure Contemptors are going to be nerfed. We're probably going to end up seeing, I think, in the next 6 months, we'll probably see... I think we'll see regular Contemptors maybe with like... Can regular Contemptors take a Chain Fist, or do the regular Contemptors just have the Dreadnought combat weapon? I feel like they probably just have the combat weapon, but let me check. Yeah. I think we might see more just regular Contemptors, because the rumor is they're going up to 180 points, I think, the regular Contemptors. I don't know. I think it's the non-degrading part of the profile that makes them really strong. I don't think I've seen many Blood Angels Successor chapters on these review streams. Do Blood Angels players generally feel that the cons outweigh the pros when it comes to Blood Angels Successors? There has been a few DTM, and there's some really interesting, like Red Scorpions have the most... You have to buy a couple of their Forge World characters, but if you do that, you can get the most insane... you can get the most insane Death Company ever, right? You can have like... let me see if it'll come up. If we talk about the Death Company having 5 attacks with Thunder Hammers when they charge in turn 1, if you Forlorn Fury them forward... I think if you have Cassian, Savius, and Severin Loth, which are Red Scorpions, which I guess are Successors, Severin Loth gives you like this thing in your command phase: select 1 Red Scorpion core unit within 6 until the command phase. Each time the model makes an attack against a Psyker, you can reroll the wounds. And then Cassian gives you, in your command phase, select 1 Scorpion core unit, and within 6 until the start of your command phase, add 1 to attacks characteristics of this model. So you could end up having like a Death Company that are Forlorn Fury that have like friggin' 6 attacks on each Thunderhammer. You could have them reroll wounds from the reroll to hit from the Chapter Master, and you could have them reroll to wound against Psychers. I think it's the strongest Death Company you can have. So I've seen a few Red Scorpion lists, but we haven't seen too many other Successor lists. What's the target for Quake Bolts? Buffing the Death Company? I mean, I don't imagine the Death Company would still be alive at that point. Reziel, I imagine that you'd be buffing the squad of Sanguinary Guard that are not with Astaroth, because the squads with Astaroth are going to get +1 to hit if they're within 6, right? But if there's a Sanguinary Guard that are away from Astaroth, you're going to give them +1 to hit, hopefully with the Quake Bolts, or you're going to give the Relic Contemptors, because the Relic Contemptors are not going to keep up with Astaroth, right? And their Chain Fists, we just talked about how good the Chain Fists are. You're going to give them +1 to hit in melee as well, because they are core. I actually don't think you need to be core for Quake Bolts. What is the wording on Quake Bolts? It's just anything that you hit, right? When you give this model relics, select 1 bolt weapon. If a hit is scored, the target unit is felled until the end of the turn. In addition to any normal damage, each time melee attack is made against the felled unit, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. Yeah, so you'd be basically making your Contemptor's Chain Fists hit on 2s as well. So it's an interesting thing. Sanguinary Guard hit well enough without trying to force Quake Bolts. Well, I mean, last night when we were talking about Knights, if you think about it this way, hitting on 2s compared to hitting on 3s, there's a 16% more damage you'll end up with, right? So if you're fighting a really tough target, do you want 60% more damage in a couple of turns potentially for just 1 CP? I mean, to me that feels a little bit like a no-brainer. But it's just something worth pointing out. Okay, Steel Rain, this is a very strong list. I could almost run this list. Almost. Yeah, I'm 2022. I'm going to start working on another tournament list, I guess. I want to win a tournament this year. Coming second or losing to the top player and finishing 5th. I'm annoyed by that. I want to win a tournament this year. You could give the Assault Sergeant a Power Sword and Mastercraft it. I mean, you could, but I don't know. I don't know if that's that exciting. I don't know if I would spend CP on a Mastercrafted Power Sword. Quake Bolts combos very well with tagging armor. Yeah, I mean, all you got to do is make a hit on a 2-up ballistic skill. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you for the list, Steel Rain. You gonna make any changes based on what I said, or are you happy with it? And do you want me to show your little meme? I'll maybe see if Forge World. Do Forge World have those? Please stand by. We're checking your browser. God damn it! I hate these things. Yes, I know what a bust looks like. I think it'd be pretty embarrassing if I didn't. Contemptor. Oh look, there's something in my basket. I think it's a Blood Angel's Contemptor. Let me what is it? Contemptor Drill? Claw? Chain Fist. Oh, they do have some in stock, do they? Okay. I actually need to get Leviathan Siege Drill as well, because I've been using the claw and just proxying it out. Siege Drill. £14, man. That's like daylight robbery. That's like a tiny little bit of plastic. Ugh. Okay, fine. Fine. I bought 3 of those Chain Fists recently. You're in America. How much are they? What's the price difference? £11 in the UK for a Chain Fist. Okay. I came in 3rd in my league behind Grey Knights and Admechs. I'm pretty happy. Yeah, I mean, Admech just got their points nerfed, so I imagine that you were playing against their old points in your league, or were you playing against the new points? Alright, we're going to go on to the final list for today. Where is it? This is submitted by Trey Ellis. I don't think I've seen him in the chat, but that's fine. Nonetheless, we will we'll have a look at it. So the idea behind this list is to have a Vanguard Vet and Sanguinary Guard squad on each flank, while the Captain, Librarian, and the Priest push the middle. The red holds the home objective, while the Incursors can forward deploy and or hold home actions. The Inceptors start in the air, so they can't be shot off, and use Descent of the Angels to hit on 2s, hopefully landing near the Captain for reroll 1s to pick up HVT, not sure what HVT, but heavy target maybe. The Van Vets move out first to soak hits and hopefully save the Sangre Guard to turn 3 when everything then pushes. The Judas CR leans towards mid but goes after needs to be shut down in melee, so don't have to spend CP on the Whirlwind until I really need to. Librarian and Sangre Priest buff either the Blade Guard or the Sangre Guard with Might and Blood Chalice, possibly both if I pop Blood Chalice 2 times. If the Dreads needs a boost, he pops Wisdom. If he's near the captain, you should have reroll all ones. Good evening, Joshua. First time watching. Thank you so much for being here and tuning in. I appreciate it. So we're just looking at army lists. Yeah, I played against old Admech in that GT, and I beat the guy, but like right after the tournament, his list went up about 200 points. So I don't know if old Admech really count as, you know, if you finished third behind old Admech, you probably would have finished second, right? Because like it's like you were playing 2,000 points against his 2,200 points. Which is kind of ridiculous. $18 in the US. Well, expensive. Good evening, Two Scoops. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so we're looking at, this is going to be a patrol detachment and I guess a vanguard. So I haven't seen too many patrol and vanguard detachments. I think as we go into 2022, we're going to see people start leaning back towards battalions because of the changes to the secondaries. There is quite a few changes coming up to the secondaries, and we're going to be discussing them on our podcast this Thursday night live over on the Three Grots channel. If you've not followed us on Three Grots yet, I mean, you can. We'll be live on Thursday night. If you need the link, it'll be in our Discord for sure. And also, I'm going to be live tomorrow night against Chaos Knights. And the Chaos Knight list, I believe, is going to be 14 War Dogs. Or is like 15 War Dogs. It's something kind of ridiculous. So we'll see how we do against Chaos Knights tomorrow night, and that'll be live about 7:30, so about 3 hours earlier than just now. Hey-yo, any way to make Death Company intercessors work? I mean, if you've got to make them work, I think you got to put them in an impulsor. I don't know how else you make them work. You could reserve them, and you could run them with bolter and chainsaw. But yeah, Death Company Intercessor is a bit of a weird one. I did a video talking about them just this week, so you could check that out. Okay, so we start with the captain, Gift of Foresight, Hammer of Baal, and a jump pack and a storm shield. Okay, so Gift of Foresight is interesting if you take the Hammer of Baal, because in the earlier list I said like take Hammer of Baal because you've got no rerolls. With Gift of Foresight giving you that reroll 1 hit, I would say a Mastercrafted Thunderhammer is more damaging than the Hammer of Baal if you have Gift of Foresight, right? Because the weakness of the Thunderhammer is the -1 hit, but the Gift of Foresight gives you that free reroll of the hit every turn. So I think that you probably end up getting more damage out of a master. If you miss one more time with a Mastercrafted Thunderhammer, it's fine because each hit is doing 4 damage compared to 3, so you probably end up doing more damage. I'm sure I math hammered that before, and I think a little bit of it's minor. I mean, both are fine, but I think the Mastercrafted Thunderhammer might be a little better. We've got a squad of Incursors. I mean, no objections to that. It's very good. We then have 2 squads of Sangre Guard, all with axes and bolt guns, and this is what I was saying. This is probably the best way to run the Sangre Guard, except now if you're coming up against orcs with either the Ramshackle or DTM told me the name of those damn orcs. There's orcs that get transhuman against strength 7 or less. I'm sorry, DTM. It's late on Sunday night. My brain isn't working. So like 1 Power Fist in these squads could be good, but I think it's probably okay to be running mainly... If you're running all bolt guns and axes, there's no problems here. This is fine. We then have a 5-man Snakebite Orcs. Thank you so much. We then have a Inceptor squad, and it's 5 Inceptors. And Inceptors are so damn expensive at 60 points per model, but I mean, they can put out a lot of damage, and if they are arriving with Descent of the Angels, potentially that gives you 32 plus plasma shots, rerolling 1s as well. So, anytime someone says only make something good with an impulsor, is I hear there's no way to make them good. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I guess here's a question for you then, Reziel. How many points would a Rhino have to be good, for example? I know that you like. Let's say you weren't going to do Jump Pack Death Company or something because you're gonna do Death Company in a Rhino. How many points would a Rhino need to be good? I mean, I'm running an Impulsor to try it. I think I've run it in the last 3 games and I've won all 3. I'm running it again. And what is it at the moment? Like 80? 90? I actually have no idea what a Rhino costs. Is it as much as 90? I feel like it should be 80. Dedicated transports. Where is it? 60 points for Rhino, so it's 80. Yeah. One less wound than an Impulsor and two less movement, but obviously transport capacity of 10. If an Impulsor had taken 10 models at its current cost, do you think it would have been good? Alright, we got Primarch's Librarian, Veil of Time, Might of Heroes, Psychic Fortress. He is a Chief Librarian, and he has Psychic Mastery, so it's kind of a defensive Librarian. Veil of Time to help with charges, Might of Heroes to potentially buff, maybe like the Contemptor, and then Psychic Fortress to provide invulnerable save. Notably, again, like, I think the Librarian with the Jump Pack is the better option here, right? You're running like 10 Sanguinary Guard, you're running 5 Inceptors. All these guys don't have invulnerable saves and would benefit from them hugely. So I feel like you want a Jump Pack Librarian who can get there and be in the right position. So if this was me, I'd be trying to find the 20 points to change this into a Jump Pack. A Jump Pack Librarian. Okay, but then we got the Sanguinary Priest, and he is the Chief Apothecary, and he's got the Icon of the Angel, and he is the Selfless Healer, which is obvious, or it's maybe not obvious, but is a lot of people run it as that way. We then have 5 Blade Guard Veterans. We got the Judiciar with just as he comes, 85 points. We've got a Relic Contemptor with a Cyclone and the Twin Volkite Coverings. Yep. We then have Vanguard Veterans, all Storm Shield, Lightning Claws. Another squad of Vanguard Veterans, all Storm Shield, Lightning Claws. And then the Whirlwind with Castellan Launcher. Okay, interesting. So 2 squads of 5 Blade Guard Veterans, 2 squads of 5 Sanguinary Guard. That gives us like 20 jump units. The Relic Contemptor, the Judiciar, the 5 Blade Guard Veterans, I guess, to probably push the middle. The Priest, the Librarian, a squad of Incursors, and a Captain with a Jump Pack. The Lino should have the same rule as Impulsor to disembark after movement. Yeah, I mean, the disembark after movement is good. I always forget that it's got that. Do you know that? Maybe that's how I should be running the Blade Guard Veterans. Like, I've been leaving the Blade Guard... I've been pushing the Impulsor forward and then just leaving the Blade Guard Veterans inside it. But maybe I should just disembark them. What? How much can they disembark? Apparently it's not going to load. I'm new to Impulsor. I know you can't charge after doing it, but can you move your whole 6 inches, or what can you actually, when you disembark after the movement in the Impulsor, how far can you move? Like, can you disembark, you have to set up the models within 3, can you then move 6? Or is it just you disembark 3 inches out and you can't move? As I say, I'm kind of new to Impulsors, I guess. And Wikipedia has gone down. Okay, that'll make things a little bit more annoying. But anyway. Alright, Captain. He's good, he's solid, he's a fine character. Incursors are good. 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard is good. The Inceptors is good. Librarian, I think, would be better if he's a jump pack. But, I mean, the Primaris Librarian, I guess you can try and advance around and that sort of thing. The Blade Guard and the Judiciar is nice. The single Relic Contemptor, I'm a little bit worried about. Having just 1 Dreadnought kind of makes it like a bullet magnet. I guess the one thing to say about it is Twin Volkite Coverings do have a 45-inch range, so you'd be able to keep that Dreadnought back, probably out of return fire range against a lot of things. I mean, like I guess like plague burst crawlers or something with like I think their entropy cannons are like 48 inches or something. You can't move. Hold on. Nick says you can't move or charge, but James says you can move. I think I've said this before, but the option for a Thunderhammer on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant is good value because it costs the same amount putting it on a regular Vanguard Veteran, but it gets an extra attack. The value. I do like a Thunderhammer on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant myself as well, actually. Vanguard Veterans obviously get ability to get melta bombs, which is pretty nice if you're up against vehicles and stuff, but a Thunderhammer is good on there as well. Would a Ball Predator ever be worth fielding? I have no other tanks yet. The Ball Predator isn't bad, Salty Syringe, but I wouldn't say it's good either. If it's your only tank, then I mean you can field it, but it's not going to be super competitive. I did a video on the Ball Predator like 2 weeks ago. Just search pretty much if you have a question about any unit, I'll probably have done a video about it. All you would need to just search, like just go into Google and type like YouTube, Blood Angels Commander, Ball Predator. It'll probably come straight up. Yeah, like Ball Predator. Here's a video done 2 weeks ago. Blood Angels Commander. What other unit could it be? Mephiston. Bang. Here's a Blood Angels Commander video on Mephiston. Blood Angels Commander Dante. Bang. Here's a video on Dante. You could do that just for about any unit. I probably have done every single unit in the Blood Angels Codex. I'd be surprised if there's something that I haven't done. So hold on, someone says so what is the rules on this? Assault vehicle. Units embarked with this vehicle can disembark even if it's made a normal move this phase. Any unit that disembarks after this transport has made a normal move cannot charge this turn. So disembark. If a unit starts its movement phase, when it disembarks, set it up wholly within 3 units then disembark can act normally. Move, charge, fight in the remainder of the turn, but its models count as having moved that turn even if they didn't move. So it sounds to me like, someone correct me if in the chat, you can advance the impulsor, so potentially you can advance it 21 inches, then you can disembark the Blade Guard Veterans 3 inches, and then do a regular move, because it specifically says any units that disembark after the transporter is moved cannot charge this turn. But it says there, units that disembark can act normally, move, shoot, charge, etc. So you can move. So potentially in turn 1, you can get your Blade Guard Veterans 30 inches forward. Actually, you could advance the Blade Guard Veterans, because it just says you cannot charge, right? It doesn't say you can't advance. So you could get your Blade Guard Veterans 37 inches forward in turn 1 if you roll a 6 for the Impulsor's advance and a 6 for the Blade Guard Veteran advance. Anyone disagree with that? We need a video on what an absolute boss Lamartis is and what we need to do to get my favourite chaplain back on the tabletop. I mean, I love Lamartis. I used to run him every single game and now I literally never run him. John, are Hellblasters so far beyond close to usable that you did not include them? What do you mean so far close to usable? Why can't you advance? It says you can act normally, move, shoot, charge, etc. If a unit starts a movement phase within a transport model, that unit can disembark in that phase so long as the model itself has not yet made a normal move in advance or fallen back this phase. When a unit... Yeah, I'm confused. Why? I've done advance of the Hellblasters out of an Impulsor to get unexpected angles. Oh, I didn't include them as non-competitive. Assault vehicle says normal move. Oh, it's made a okay, so the Impulsor can't advance, but the Blade Guard Veterans coming out could advance, is what you're saying. That's interesting. Okay, so you can't get 37 inches forward, but you can still get your Blade Guard Veterans 30 inches forward. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So the Impulsor moves forward 14 inches, you disembark out 3, then you move forward your 6. So at that point, you've got a guaranteed 23 inches of movement, and then you advance d6 plus 1. So you move a minimum of 25 inches and at the best 31 inches. That's crazy, actually. I haven't thought of that before. So I could get I can get my blade guard 31 inches forward in turn 1, and possibly into an obscured cover position or something like that. Yeah, that's against like a shooting army like Tau or something. That could be insane, actually. It says the unit must disembark before the transport moves. Yes, but this has got a special assault vehicle rule saying units embarked with this transport can disembark even after it has moved. And that's what the Impulsor has. Okay, that's actually better than I thought. You know, that maybe puts the Impulsor up a little bit in my estimations. Okay, sorry, let's get back to this list then. I like the idea of Thunderhammers and Vanguard Veteran Sergeants. I guess the Relic Contemptor would be played very defensively. You have the Blade Guard and the Judicar going center board. Like I said, a jump pack on this Librarian would make him stronger. All the other units here are top tier, I think. And what CP's he got? He's spending... Does it say at the bottom? He's got 5 CP. I guess that's the one problem with the blade. That's the one problem with the 2 detachments, is you are low on CP. Pat Cho says, painted up my Librarian with jump pack and realised my chapter colours are basically Batman. Nice. I didn't include Hellblasters in my non-competitive list because I wasn't sure people were going to like that video, and I just picked 6 models. People actually kind of liked the video, so I might pick 6 more models and do another video, part 2 of models to avoid. Or maybe I need to do a video of models to pick, you know? Models that you 100% want to pick at the moment that are going to win you games. It's still too costly to be carrying so few models for me. Yeah, maybe. I mean, the way that I see it is Blade Guard are essentially 3 wound Sanguinary Guard with a 4-up invuln. They're just slow. You know, because everything else is... I mean, sure, the Sanguinary Guard have a better gun, but the gun's not really the important part, is it? It's the mastercrafted sword, and it's the insane number of attacks they get. In fact, Blade Guard, a squad of 5 Blade Guard actually get more attacks than a squad of 5 Sanguinary Guard. So that's why I hold on to the Blade Guard, right? Because the Blade Guard, I know that they take swords, and we've said before that the axes are better than swords, but I mean, the swords are still not bad. Do not underestimate the Angelus Bolters. Yeah, Angelus Bolters are fine. But I mean, like, bolters do chip damage usually. Usually I feel like most of our damage as a Blood Angels player comes from close combat, right? Cool, Carter, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate it. Anyway, let's put some scoring on this list. I mean, I guess the question is though, right? For 3 more points, would you give up your Angelus Bolter and have your Blade Guard have your Sanguinary Guard have an extra wound and a 4-up save? And I guess in the land that I live in, and also have access to transhuman. That's what swings it for me. The bolters shoot twice and have AP -1 or 2. Yeah. It's okay damage, I guess. Alright. Scoring. We got 1 troop squad here, but we've got 5 units that can, 6 units, 7 units that can do action, but the 1 troop unit is going to pull them down in OBSEC, so like 6.5 here. Anti-Horde infantry, I mean, we've got 1 Contemptor there, we've got 10 Sanguinary Guard, we do have the Inceptors. That's going to give a lot, 300 points of Inceptors gives you a lot of clear actually against Horde if you need it. Incursors, yeah, Horde isn't, Whirlwind Vengeance Launcher, yeah, maybe like Horde's like an 8. Trying to decide if it's 8.5. 300 points of Inceptors. I mean, you don't want to be shooting Inceptors at Horde stuff, but I mean, it would wreck them because of the assault. Good night, Knocking. Thanks for tuning in. with amount of -1 damage, I tend to use Assault Terminators with Thunderhammers and Storm Shields and Blade Guard Veterans. Yeah, I mean, that's valid too. I think that's totally valid to say. Drop the Assault Terminators down middle of the board or something. Yeah, maybe I just need to run Assault Terminators with Thunderhammers. How do they... I was going to say, it's annoying you can't give the Sergeant Quake Bolts for the Assault Terminators, isn't it? Otherwise, that would be pretty cool. Okay, anti-vehicle monster. 3 damage weapons in this list. Then we've got 1 on the Contemptor. We have a real lack of 3 damage weapons in this list, actually. Like, 2 from the Judiciar, I guess 3 from the Librarian, and then like 4 from the Captain. So this list's going to struggle against -1 damage armies pretty badly. 4 damage... I was going to say it's 8.5, but we're going to take some points off because of the... We'll take some points off in speciality. Mobility-wise is pretty good overall. Blade Guard and Judiciar aren't mobile. Incursors can be mobile. 5 CP. Yeah, mobility is maybe like an 8.5. And then specialization, I guess. We have our fight last because we've got a whirlwind. We've got some denies. We kind of suck on units for actions. We've just got that 1 troop squad. We don't really want to be doing actions with like our Sanguinary Guard, our Vanguard Veterans, or Blade Guard. So maybe that's like units for actions is maybe like point off. 3 damage weapons is a point off. CP we're just starting with 5, so that's probably a point off. And protection against mortal wounds. I mean, we've got that in a sense from our priest, so maybe like a 6.5. So I think that... I mean, I'm not sure how experienced Trey is. I don't think I've seen him in the chat all that much. Hold on, let me delete that Russian comment because it's just spam. Terminators get Fury of the First, so they're okay. Yeah. I like Terminators. I really do. I enjoyed playing the Chainfist Terminators, and I think at some point I'll probably play Thunderhammer Terminators as well, because I like strong, durable units that can sit on objectives. I mean, that's kind of what I've been doing with my Blade Guard, but maybe in this meta where more and more things are -1, you just have to accept that sometimes you should take those Terminators. And the Terminators they do have a better save than the Blade Guard, right? They do have a 1-up save where the Blade Guard have a 2-up save. They can deep strike. They have multiple ways to get around -1 damage, and Thunderhammers are better at -1 damage. And they are hitting at strength 8, so you pretty much wound everything on 2s. I guess the only disadvantage of the Thunderhammer is they're only -2 now, whereas they usually used to be -3, right? But yeah, maybe that's what needs to get onto my painting table next, is like 5 Terminators, and we try dropping the Blade Guard and bringing Assault Terminators. I like Assault Terminators. I just think that the Blade Guard in a lot of my games soak up a lot of damage, and yeah, I suppose Assault Terminators can teleport twice as well. That's a good point as well. Yeah, the hammers hit on 4s normally. Yeah, so I mean, you could counter that by having the Tech Marine take Quake Bolts, and then you could get the Tech Marine has Quake Bolts. It shoots the target that the Terminators are going to charge, and then the Terminators play Fury of the First. You then have the hammers hitting on 2s anyway, right? Because the Quake Bolts like cancels out the -1 to hit, and then the Fury of the First gives them +1 to hit. So you can still, in some ways, you can actually still get Terminators with Thunderhammers hitting on 2s. I guess then your Lightning Claws would also hit on 2s at that point as well. Yeah. But anyway, so this is a cool list as well. It's not as strong as the first 2, but I think the first 2 are submitted by like real hard-hitting Blood Angels veterans that have been watching this channel for a while, and also are pretty knowledgeable themselves, because I have definitely copied some of their ideas. So, yeah, some good lists this week, actually. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for watching, especially at a much later time. If you did enjoy the later time or anything, leave me a comment on the Discord. If this suits people more, I feel like I'm going to have to do it in the evening anyway. So it's probably going to be around 9:30 going forward for the next little while. Until I have a handle on how I'm getting on with the kids, I guess. So, I used 5 Thunderhammer Terminators in my last tournament. I dropped them in the backfield of the Hive Guard. They were awesome, says Martin. Yeah, Hive Guard are a bitch, aren't they? So, it could be good to try and use 2 Assault Terminator squads, 1 with Thunderhammers and 1 with Lightning Claws. I think if you're going to do Thunderhammer Terminators or something like that, I think it's a good idea to mix the squad, Camille. And the reason I think, in some ways, it's why I put an Infernal Pistol in my Sanguinary Guard. It's like, you can't always... As much as you want to strategize in the game, sometimes the enemy will just drop like a unit next to you from Deep Strike, or you'll end up in a bad position, or something like that, right? So, like, I think if you have a squad, if you're talking about lists that are going to take all corners, and what we mean by take all corners is fight well against everybody, I think then you want to, for sure, do like 3 Thunderhammers, the Sergeant and 2 other guys, and then 2 guys with Lightning Claws. It keeps the points cost of the squad a bit more reasonable, because I think all Thunderhammers is like 215 points. So it keeps the squad a little bit more reasonable, and it also gives a little bit more flexibility, because you never know, as much as you want to plan, and this is why sometimes people submit a list with like 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard, 1 all with axes, 1 all with swords. Well, that's great and all, but what happens when like the squad with swords needs to react to a threat, and then that threat isn't their optimal target? Like, you're going to try and switch them in the middle of the battlefield? It just makes no sense. So it's almost like, that's why I like mixing your squads. And yeah, it can be a bit more complicated if every Sanguinary Guard squad has 3 axes and 2 swords, but if that's the models you have, I think it's better to mix them across 2 squads and have both squads like strong against multiple things than a particular squad only good in a certain situation. Okay, so I think that's everything. Thank you so much for watching at this later time. I appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow night for a live game against 14 War Dogs, 15 War Dogs, some sort of stupid list that Andrew's made that's all 15 of the same model. 9 of them are the normal version, 5 of them are the Forge World version. He thinks he's going to win. We'll see, I guess. So if you want to catch us for the live game tomorrow night, and then Thursday night we are live talking about the new secondaries over on the Grots channel, so we'll be doing that on Thursday, and I have no idea what video we're doing yet for Friday, but I will make one before Friday. So Tactical Andrew says Camille, yeah, I think I'll beat it, but we'll see. I mean, the reason Andrew will have picked them is because they're really, really strong, right? They're called War Dogs. They're Chaos Knight. They're 135 points. They get 12 wounds. They got 3-up save. Every model is equipped with a heavy stubber. I mean, that's fine. A thermal spear, which is a assault multi-melta, essentially, that is blast. And the Reaver chain cleaver, which is like a dreadnought weapon, but with the option of doing double attacks at a lesser AP, I guess, to thin out hordes. So yeah, we'll be fighting that tomorrow night. So it's 9 of these, and then 9 of the Forge World, 9 of these, and then I think it's like 5 of the Forge World variant. So I've never even fought a single War Dog before, and I guess they are all OBSEC now, and they all count for 5 models because of the new rules, right? Where is it? This model counts as 5 models when determining control of an objective. I assume they're all OBSEC. I'm not entirely sure. They don't have any invulnerable save, so I guess we will carve them up. Is he bringing Morax to... yeah, he's bringing like 9 War Dogs and I think 5 Morax or something like that. But the whole list is just War Dogs. Because that's what Andrew does. He tries to find the strongest model he can, and then he just buys them all. So yeah, take Archangel Shard.
I mean, I could take Archangel Shard. That feels like I'm tailoring a tiny bit too much. But yeah, no, I'm gonna take a pretty standard Blood Angels Commander list, and we'll see how we do. But I am trying to. I maybe do that thing where we get the Blade Guard very far forward. We'll see, and you know, all the talk in tonight's stream has actually really made me think like I need to go into the drawer, drop the Impulsor, and just take a squad of Thunderhammer Terminators with a couple of Lightning Claws in there, and then see what that looks like. So that's probably what I'll have a look at maybe for next week or something like that. But yeah, my list is going to be very much similar to what we saw last week. So have a great rest of your weekend if you've got much time left. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I'm sure I'll catch you through the week. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Peace and good night, and congrats to Steel Rain. I think it was for one of the highest lists we've seen in the last 3 or 4 months, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.